The story begins not in a laboratory, nor in the dust of an archaeological site, but in the quiet moment when someone opens a DNA test report and sees a single, unexpected word glowing back at them: Jewish. The world shrinks for an instant. Among percentages of continental ancestry and clusters of ancient populations, one identity stands out. Not a region, not a tribe, not a language, but something far more layered: a culture, a religion, a people whose story stretches across millennia. And so a simple question arises: how can a religious identity appear in your DNA? Science does not measure belief. Genomes do not encode rituals or prayers. Yet somehow, Jewish ancestry finds its way into the strands that define us. To understand why, we must travel backward, not decades or centuries, but nearly 4,000 years, to a world before maps had borders and before nations had names. But before this journey begins, don't forget to subscribe, because what you're about to uncover is part of a much larger human story, one woven into migrations, forgotten kingdoms, lost tribes, and the inheritance carried silently in our cells. The story of Jewish DNA does not begin in laboratories. It begins in the hills of the Levant, beneath the same sun that once watched over the earliest Semitic-speaking peoples: Canaanites, Aramaeans, Phoenicians. They were neighbors, competitors, trading partners, and in many ways, genetically intertwined. The people who would later be known as Israelites were not initially set apart by markers in their chromosomes, but by something less tangible and far more enduring: a new way of understanding the divine, a gathering of laws, a shared story. From these origins emerged two kingdoms, Israel in the north and Judah in the south. The southern kingdom, Judah, would shape the identity that survives today. But history rarely allows stability to last. In 586 BCE, the Babylonians arrived like a shadow falling over the land. Jerusalem fell, its temple burned. Thousands were taken eastward into exile. Families torn apart, culture threatened, faith tested. Yet exile did not erase identity, it ignited it. In Babylon, Jewish communities rebuilt themselves around scripture, memory, and tradition. They preserved their practices with intense communal cohesion. These were choices made for survival, and, unknowingly, they shaped the future of their genetic landscape. When the Persian Empire conquered Babylon, hope returned. Leaders like Ezra and Nehemiah guided the rebuilding of a homeland. But their mission was not only physical reconstruction, it was cultural preservation. They urged the people to hold fast to their ways, their customs, their laws. They encouraged endogamy, marrying within the group, not out of exclusion, but out of fear that identity would dissolve into the vastness of the surrounding empires. What began as a social strategy became a biological imprint. Over time, the descendants of these ancient Israelites carried specific genetic signatures: on the Y chromosome from fathers, on the mitochondrial DNA from mothers. Haplogroups J1 and J2 across the paternal lines, maternal lineages like H, K, and others found throughout the Mediterranean. These were not unique to Jews alone, but combined with centuries of community continuity, they formed patterns that would echo forward into modern DNA testing. But the story darkened again. Empires rose and fell: Persians, Greeks, Romans. With each occupation came pressure, instability, and change. And then, in 70 CE, one event reshaped the genetic destiny of an entire people: the destruction of the Second Temple. Rome crushed the revolt, Jerusalem fell once more, and Jews were scattered far beyond the borders of their ancient homeland. This dispersal created something unprecedented in human history:
a people without a single land, yet connected across continents by memory, ritual, and kinship. From the Mediterranean to North Africa, from Persia to the far edges of Europe, Jewish communities emerged, distinct yet connected by deep cultural threads. And as centuries passed, these threads intertwined with geography, creating the three major branches of Jewish ancestry known today. First came the Mizrahi Jews, the communities of the Middle East and North Africa. For thousands of years, they lived among ancient civilizations in Babylon, Persia, Yemen, and Arabia. Their genetic profile remains one of the closest to early Levantine populations. They preserved continuity not through isolation alone, but through the gravitational pull of shared tradition. Yemenite Jews, cut off for nearly 2 millennia, bear some of the clearest ancestral echoes of ancient Israelite DNA. Next came the Sephardic Jews. Flourishing in the Iberian Peninsula for centuries, they blended Middle Eastern ancestry with Mediterranean influences. They lived at the crossroads of Spain and Portugal, philosophers, astronomers, merchants, poets. And then came 1492, the Alhambra Decree, expulsion, forced conversion, flight across oceans and empires. With each migration, Sephardic genetic signatures spread, North Africa, the Ottoman Empire, the Netherlands, and beyond, carrying a story marked by brilliance and displacement. Then came the Ashkenazi Jews, born in the Rhineland valleys of medieval Europe. Their story is shaped by two powerful evolutionary forces, founder effects and bottlenecks. A small initial population followed by repeated cycles of plague, persecution, and survival. Each time the community rebuilt, its genetic diversity narrowed. Certain lineages became prevalent. Certain rare genetic traits became common, not because of destiny, but because of mathematics. Yet beneath these European layers, the deeper signal remained. Paternal ancestry linked unmistakably to the Middle East. On the maternal side, unique lineages emerged. Women from Europe who joined the community centuries earlier, converted, and became part of a story far larger than themselves. Their mitochondrial DNA continues through millions today, an unbroken chain reaching across time. By the Middle Ages, three distinct Jewish genetic clusters existed: Mizrahi, Sephardi, and Ashkenazi, each shaped by geography and history, yet all bound by shared ancestral roots. This is why modern DNA tests show Jewish ancestry not as religion, but as population history. Centuries of endogamy created identifiable patterns, markers of a people who survived diaspora, war, expulsion, and rebirth. But the story does not end in the major centers of Europe and the Middle East. Far beyond the horizon of traditional history, other Jewish communities carried their own remarkable genetic tales. In the highlands of Ethiopia, the Beta Israel practiced Judaism for centuries, their origins wrapped in layers of legend and migration. Genetically, they resemble Ethiopian populations, with subtle Middle Eastern signals hinting at ancient contact. Their DNA illustrates a profound truth. Judaism traveled not only through genes, but through faith and culture. Across India's western coast, the Bene Israel traced their roots to shipwrecked traders or wandering merchants who arrived long before medieval kingdoms rose and fell. Their DNA reflects deep Indian ancestry intertwined with threads of Middle Eastern origin, a mosaic shaped by 1,000 years of adaptation. Further east, in the historic city of Kaifeng in China, descendants of Jewish merchants along the Silk Road carried traditions long after they blended genetically into the local population. Their story proves something essential. You can lose the genetic signal, yet preserve the cultural memory. This is why Jewish identity has never been a question of DNA alone. It is a tapestry of ancestry, belief, ritual, memory, and resilience woven together through thousands of years of migration and survival. DNA can trace journeys, it can reveal connections, but it cannot define who belongs. Yet the science remains powerful. Modern genomic sequencing now allows researchers to look thousands of years into the past, comparing ancient bones from Bronze Age Levantine burial sites to the genomes of modern Jewish communities, and the results are astonishing. Clear, quantifiable links between the ancient Israelites and Jewish populations living today across the world. These are not guesses or romantic myths. They are data, written in the code of life itself. This does not mean all Jewish ancestry is Middle Eastern. Every community carries its own blend: European, North African, Arabian, Ethiopian, Indian, Central Asian. But the underlying thread remains visible, a shared origin that persisted through exile, persecution, and diaspora. At this point in the journey, if you find yourself wanting to explore more stories like this one, stories written in biology, archaeology, and human memory, make sure you're subscribed, because these discoveries are rewriting the very map of how humanity came to be. One of the most debated theories in Jewish history is the Khazar hypothesis, the claim that Ashkenazi Jews descend primarily from a medieval Turkic people who converted to Judaism. But large-scale genetic studies contradict this. While minor traces of Central Asian ancestry appear in some populations, the overwhelming majority of Ashkenazi paternal and maternal lineages align with Middle Eastern and European sources, not Turkic origins. Modern genomic research, deep sequencing, haplotype analysis, ancient DNA extraction helps distinguish story from science. The evidence shows continuity with ancient Levantine populations, not a wholesale ancestry shift. So what does it mean when a DNA test says you have Jewish ancestry? It means you carry echoes of migrations across deserts and mountains. It means your lineage survived exile, diaspora, and the reshaping of civilizations. It means that somewhere in your ancestry, a family belonged to a community that held fast to its identity through every force that tried to break it. Jewish DNA is not about belief, it is about history. It is about the marks left by decisions made under pressure, by families who stayed together, by generations who rebuilt community after loss. It represents survival across the vast sweep of human history. And if learning this today has sparked something in you, curiosity, recognition, a desire to understand more, then carry that forward. Follow it. Because the deeper story of humanity is only just beginning to be told. The last words of this documentary are not an ending, but an invitation. The human story is immense, mysterious, and waiting to be uncovered, written in the silent code passed from ancestor to descendant. If this journey moved you, if it made you question where you come from or who you are connected to, subscribe, share, and stay with us, because together we are uncovering the map of our shared ancient past, one strand of DNA at a time.